Okay, it's 6:30, so I would like to call this Planning Commission meeting to order. It's Thursday, August 18th, 2022, and may I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is number 3, minute approvals for July 21st, 2022. May I get a motion to approve the July 21st, 2022 Planning Commission minutes?
I move to approve the July 1st, 2022 Planning Commission minutes.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are passed. Approved. Okay, let's get right to our item number 4, which is a public hearing concerning the floodplain ordinance. And I guess we will speak with Jane. Look at you.
Look at that.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jane Cancer. I'm a senior planner with Bolton and Mank. We just filled in for Erin as best we could while she was out, and are just kind of finishing up for her tonight. So tonight, the public hearing is to consider a text amendment to the floodplain requirements of the city code. These amendments are required as a result of changes that occurred to the National Flood Insurance Program, which it impacts the city's participation in what is called the CRS, or Community Rating System Program. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it is essentially an incentive program that helps reduce flood insurance rates in the city if the city participates. To participate, you have to meet certain requirements and certain minimum standards. So, as part of this program, the city undergoes a fairly regular review of its ordinances. It usually occurs about every 5 years. When they reviewed the current code in July of 2021, it was discovered that there was a piece. Sorry, thank you. There was a piece of the code that did not adequately address or meet the standards that were a result of those initial changes. What the current city code does require a foot of freeboard or a foot above the flood protection elevation in order to meet that requirement, but what the city code does not currently require is that foot of freeboard be applied to things like HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. So that, in fact, is what the proposed amendment is about. It's a pretty simple amendment. On the screen you can see the changes. We've basically adjusted the language to note that any mechanical, electrical, plumbing, ductwork, air conditioning, and so forth has to be elevated at least above that regulatory flood protection elevation. Anything below that elevation has to be constructed so as to prevent water from accumulating. This amendment does comply with FEMA requirements. City staff worked with the DNR and the CRS reviewers to make sure that the language was appropriate. The amendment has also been reviewed by the city attorney. Tonight's recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend approval of this amendment to the City Council. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions.
What if I open the public hearing, now that we've had the presentation? So we will now open the public hearing. Those wishing to address the Planning Commission should come forward, state their name and address for the record. After all comments are received, the public hearing will be closed. No further comments on this issue will be received at this meeting. Anybody?
No.
Who's that?
No.
I just want to clarify this change about the freeboard and what needs to be above the freeboard.
Mm-hmm.
That's if there is a structure in town right now that's not the case.
It's new construction.
New construction.
If you have an existing home in the floodplain and you need a new furnace, you know, it might be asked if you can somehow elevate it, but it does not necessarily prevent you from replacing your furnace. But if you're doing a major rehab or new construction, then you need to follow this requirement.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment, question?
Go ahead.
We have a building down the street that's being worked on now, remodeled. Does it meet the requirements, and does it need to?
I'm going to let Aaron address that one.
Sure, so I think Jim is referring to the new Getaway Motor Cafe. Did he bring pizza to a meeting?
Oh, my goodness.
You guys here with pizza?
So the Getaway Motor Cafe, this rule isn't in effect until the ordinance is passed by the city council and we do the summary publication in the newspaper. We have been working really closely with them though and recommending that they do put their mechanicals as high as possible, knowing that that building is extremely flood prone.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just to clarify, we literally are just deleting those 5 words and adding that 2 sentences.
Yes, that is correct.
And then, yeah, I guess my other question was what about existing, but you already got covered, so.
Anybody else? Floodplain? Questions, comments?
I guess
Okay.
I had another.
Oh, go ahead, Reed.
So presumably, when you do have a new construction, and obviously the sewage, right, that has to be underground. There's some special sewer that is designed for floodplains that presumably would be required, or city connection, right? Because the city services the sewer as well. Okay.
Correct. Do you want to talk about a special sewer at all?
No, we do not.
This is special flood sewers. Okay.
Especially the pizza.
Yeah.
All right, that was it.
Okay, do I need to keep the meeting open for a while? It's only been open for like 3 minutes.
If you'd like, you can.
Okay, we'll just leave the public hearing open for now, but we're gonna, if nobody has any other comments, questions, concerns about the floodplain ordinance or the getting in sync with FEMA, we will move down to new business. I think somebody is gonna tell us about Ironwood and Hartwell Drive operations, maybe a city engineer.
I will do that, yes.
Do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning Commission, good evening. I'm going to pull up a quick presentation for tonight. Let's see. Okay. So tonight, we wanted to share with the Planning Commission some concerns that we've received at the city engineer's office about the intersection of Ironwood Drive and Hartwell Drive, which is right by the school. I'll show you a picture here in a minute. Some of the operations specifically, we're going to look at some site distance issues that were brought up as a potential concern from residents. Then we'll also look at some of the other things that will be going on in the area in the future. So this is the primary concern that was brought up to the city engineer. This is looking west at the Hartwell and Ironwood intersection. So this would be northbound Hartwell, like you're going towards the school. As you pull up to the stop sign at Ironwood Drive. As you can see there, the Copper Hills development has a large entrance monument at this location, which imposes on the sight line looking to the west. So this is the plan view of what I just described. So if you can imagine here, you're the blue car here where I'm circling right now. The stop sign is where we have it shown. If you look to the west, the edge of the monument sign is right here. You can see that you have some limited distance here where you can see to the west. When you stop at the stop sign is where you're supposed to stop, right? So if you have a car approaching you going eastbound on Ironwood, which obviously it's not an issue today because there's no real traffic there, but very soon there will be, people coming this direction on Ironwood Drive. So we reviewed this area. We concur with the concern. This is not an ideal situation. So if people are stopped at the stop sign where they're supposed to stop, they may feel uneasy and have to creep forward slowly to be able to see enough to safely commit and turn right or go straight wherever they want to navigate. They would like to pull up a little bit to be able to safely do that. So as you can see here, as part of the Jonathan Carver Parkway project, there was a lane that was added east of Hartwell Drive for eastbound Ironwood. You can kind of see where the new black pavement is right here on this picture. That was a lane addition to help better accommodate the intersection operations at Jonathan Carver Parkway. Jonathan Carver Parkway now is a double left turn, as so it won't queue up, back to this intersection. So that's been a very positive thing as a result of this project. But this is one thing that we did notice that is not an ideal situation. So we want to address that, and I'll describe that here in a little bit. So as you can see here, this is the existing crosswalk where it used to be before construction was. There is more than adequate sight distance as you look west. You clear the sign, you can see a very far distance. So what we're looking to do is we want to get the stop sign back up closer to where the crosswalk is, essentially mimicking what the pre-construction condition was. So with that being said, what we are planning to do here is revise this curb line right here, adding essentially a small bump out to the area, which will allow for the stop sign and then the crosswalk to be back to where it was before the project started. In addition to just improving sight distance, we also think there will be an added benefit for eastbound traffic as you approach this intersection. They don't have to think about changing lanes as you go through the intersection. So it'll keep people in one lane through the intersection, and then you can open up and decide which lane you want to be in after the intersection. So that has a couple benefits. Number one, for the driver on the through street, and then also it reduces another conflict point for this driver having to make a decision. Is this driver going to stay in the left lane, or is he going to come in the outside through lane as he goes through the intersection? So in general, we think this is a clean solution. It's really going to help with reducing any driver inability to make a decision. As you stop at the stop sign, you're clearly going to be able to see west on Ironwood Drive, and we'll make a decision when it's safe to proceed from the stop sign. One last thing we're looking to do with this, we're going to restripe Hartwell Drive as you go northbound on Hartwell Drive to this stop sign. Today, it's a dedicated left turn lane and then a through right, a combined through right lane. With operations, most of the traffic is going to the right. Like in the mornings, you have a lot of traffic going right. And if one person wants to go straight and go across to the school, it will hold up basically everybody that wants to turn right. So the dedicated right will perform better from a traffic operations perspective. So we're going to take the opportunity to also clean that up and restripe this last, 300 feet of Hartwell Drive as you approach the intersection. So one last piece that I wanted to bring up tonight was there's also been some discussion in the past and some questions about, well, would it make sense to just convert this to an all-way stop intersection? So what we want to do this fall, after school is in session, we want to go out and get some traffic counts for the peak, what we call a 15-minute peak at the school. that will help us to understand, you know, is an always stop going to function properly, or will it fail? Is the two-way stop control adequate for today? And then we're also going to look into the future. You know, we'll put some growth projections on it. What happens when Ironwood Drive sees additional volume coming from the west, with, you know, Timber Creek and then continuing to go west? So it isn't something that we can do today because there's no school traffic. So when you get to an intersection like this, you really have to study that 15-minute peak to see how your volumes behave, and then we can put it into the traffic modeling software and, again, apply some growth factors to it, see what happens today, year 0, project that out to see what happens in year, you know, up to year 20, and see where the failure points are and see what the best intersection configuration is. So that's something we're going to be doing here this fall after school's in session. So we can definitely report back after that, but I guess for now, opening day, it'll still be a two-way stop control, which is obviously fine in this condition because there simply isn't traffic coming from the west, so there isn't a failure per se in the traffic. So,
Aaron, when are we thinking of doing this change? Before school?
yes. So very good question. We're actually working. I failed to bring up, as part of the Timber Creek development, Ironwood Drive west of Hartwell, we're going to be adding a median here and lengthening the turn lane. So the left turn lane is going to be lengthened, which will support future growth. So we'll be doing that work here. The contractor is actually looking to get out there on Monday to start doing that work. So we're hoping that if all goes well, this will all be wrapped up before school starts, is the goal.
All right, great. Anybody questions for Aaron?
I have a question, Aaron. So if the traffic is checked in fall, how will that affect, like, what happens in spring when the road continues and there's more traffic? Like, is this, it will never be a four-way, or it could be discussed again in the future?
Yeah, we're not ruling out any options at this point. I think that right away, the amount of traffic we are going to be seeing isn't going to make a huge impact on things, but that's what getting these traffic counts will allow us to do, is get a lot better understanding for how things are operating out there, and then we can make some logical decisions. So again, we're not ruling anything out. I don't want to say one way or other which way it could tip. So yeah, that's what we're going to do.
You satisfied with your answer?
Yes.
Okay, Daniel?
I was just going to thank the city for the efforts on this, and seeing a photo I took maybe a month ago now to having something put in place before school even starts. It's very cool to see.
Awesome. Well, thank you for reporting it. Yeah, thank you for reporting that, because it was a very
Daniel.
valid concern. So I appreciate that.
All right, everybody, read.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reed.
Sure. So the sidewalk was moved originally when we added the lane, and it previously was, like you said, farther north. And we're basically, again, readjusting the curve and then placing the stop sign back where it was originally before they added the extra lane.
Correct. Okay. So the stop sign today, if you can see it, it's a good probably 10 feet back from where it was before this. And the whole goal is to get that stop sign back up to where the old pedestrian ramp used to be. So the stop sign and the crosswalk, it'll all be in the same location, so it makes sense for everybody. This is where you stop. You know, you're supposed to stop before the crosswalk. It should be a lot cleaner after we do this. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like a good fix.
thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a couple questions. Would this be, when school's in session and so forth, would this be the first time that any type of traffic study in this intersection is being occurred?
No, so there has been traffic studies completed both with the Jonathan Carver Parkway project and with the Timber Creek development. The issue is the normal standard traffic studies don't get into this level of detail. They're looking at the peak hour.
Sure.
This is really zooming in on that 15-minute peak at the school. So it's a detailed study, but we think it is something that's a good thing to do. So to answer your question, yes, there has been. The two-way stop control works just fine for the standard peak hourly flow. So there were no issues that were part of that. It's just we'd like to zoom in and, again, take a closer look at things, how it operates when people are going and coming to the school.
And then could you also maybe touch base a little bit on what the requirements are or rules are on like signage? As of right now, like you said, this is just a two-way stop. You just have a two-way stop, that's it. Obviously, pretty heavy traffic with school in and out, pedestrian crosswalks, all that kind of stuff. I know that even if you stand in on this intersection, you look east of Jonathan Carver Parkway on Ironwood Drive, on the other side on Ironwood Drive, you can see posted speed limits, you can see pedestrian signs, you can see signs all over the place. West of Jonathan Carver Parkway on Ironwood Drive, there's no signs anywhere, posted anywhere on Ironwood Drive.
Yeah. Actually, that's another great question. As part of the median project that we're doing with Timber Creek, we are going to add pedestrian indication signage with advanced warning signs to that crossing. So that will be addressed here very shortly.
Okay. Including the space in between Hartwell and Jonathan Carver Parkway?
Are you saying for westbound
So
traffic?
if you're going westbound from Jonathan Carver Parkway on Ironwood Drive, the little, in your top right corner of the box there, between Hartwell and Jonathan Carver Parkway, is there going to be any signage kind of right there too?
I believe we had an advanced warning sign and then that pedestrian crossing sign at the crossing itself.
Okay.
For that direction as well.
Anything else, Greg?
As of right now, no. I'd be very curious to see what the study comes out with. Absolutely.
Okay.
You'll share that with us.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. If everybody is satisfied with this piece, shall we move on? Did you have anything else, Aaron?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. I mean.
That was
thank
the end
you.
of my presentation. So
Okay. Well, let's back up and I think it's safe to say we can close the public hearing as nobody is here to talk about floodplain issues. So
I'll motion to close the public hearing.
there's a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is closed. And now we're to the point where we probably need a motion to recommend.
Do we? Oh, yes. I move.
You move to recommend
I
approval
move
that
to
city
recommend.
council? Okay, Reed, go ahead.
Oh, she doesn't have a nice one written out. I move to recommend the city council adopt the changes to meet the floodplain requirements as specified.
How about it, yeah, we'll
I don't
have
know.
city council adopt staff findings to amend chapter 21,
Did I-
section 24 of Carver City Code.
Did I miss
Requirements
that
for
one?
all floodplain districts as presented.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second.
Oh,
Any
sorry,
further
it's done.
discussion?
No.
None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. Floodplain ordinance changed, or recommended to be changed. Let's move on to, finally.
Yeah.
Let's go to 5.2, Mizzy's Pizza, Carver Square, Planned Commercial Development Amendment. Site plan review. Who wants to talk about it? You guys want to talk about it?
Just 1 second.
Just you? I think
Just
we
me.
all want to
Initially,
talk about
yeah.
it.
Let's see. All right, we're rolling. Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name's Cody Flannery. I'm an urban planner with Bolton & Mink. Along with Jane and our colleague, Harry Davis, we've been providing support to the city during Aaron's leave. One of the projects that I was managing was this application from Mizzy's Pizza, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. So to re-familiarize yourself with the location, Mizzy's Pizza is applying at 4715 Dahlgren Road in the Carver Square Planned Commercial District. This is a twofold application. First, for an amendment to the planned commercial district itself, and site plan review. A little bit of background on Carver Square itself, just for the benefit of the public and members of the commission who may or may not be too familiar with the project. In 2017, the city, along with Lenzen Group LLC, developed Carver Square from the Carver Dental Office plat. It was originally prescribed as Outlot B. Those lots were subsequently subdivided into a new plat, Carver Square. And the city, along with Lenzen Group and Carver Dental Office, applied for and approved a planned commercial district overlay for the Carver Square Carver Dental Office commercial district. And again, for members of the public or members of the commission, a planned commercial district along with a planned residential district or a planned residential development rather is a zoning tool that the city can use to negotiate or provide itself with some flexibility with the strict regulations of the zoning ordinance, especially when trying to develop in a strategically located area, even when the intended use of the area is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's why that process was initiated in 2017. It was approved accordingly. So what Mizzies are proposing are 7,532 square foot mixed use structure. About 5,000 square feet of that will be the restaurant proper, with an additional approximately 2,600 square foot office and retail outlet that is also attached to the structure. In addition to those two enclosed spaces, they are proposing an 1,140 square foot patio on the west end of the structure. I should note too that at this time, a future occupant for that retail outlet has not been identified. Thinking about lots and zoning of adjacent parcels, like I said, everything around Carver Square is zoned with that freeway commercial planned commercial district zoning overlay, except for Northern States Power Station, which is still technically in Dahlgren Township. However, that is subject to the planned annexation agreement, or excuse me, orderly annexation agreement. And that is the only parcel that is zoned industrial. Again, thinking back to that planned commercial district, the adopted zoning guidelines, including lot sizing for the freeway commercial district, are about 1 acre. As you can see on the slides, under that planned commercial district, the city did offer the applicant Lenzen Group at that time a deviation from that standard to 0.81 acres for Lot 1, Block 1 of Carver Square. I should also note too that the applicant is not asking for any deviation from what has already been approved. That's just for your reference. Thinking about parking on the site, under the original approvals for the Carver Square development, Lenzen Group and Holder Properties LLC, who own Carver Dental Office, entered into a reciprocal parking and easement agreement. That agreement still stands with these new developments and the subsequent developments, including Children of Tomorrow Daycare, the Carver Square professional offices, and now the proposed Mizzi's Pizza. We looked at the uses, the square footages, and applied the calculation or the formula that's prescribed in the city code. And under the code, this mix of uses would be required to have at least 93 spaces. What's being proposed by Mizzi's are 19 spaces in addition to the 81 existing, for a very round 100 total spaces in Carver Square. Additionally, as part of the city code, Mizzi's will be required to provide at least 2 spaces for bicycles. Thinking about access and maneuvering, in addition to the shared parking agreement, there is also that shared easement agreement across Lot 1 that still stands from the previous approvals. No changes to that are being proposed. Access for all occupants and visitors to Carver Square will still continue across Lot 1. The one thing that we spent a little bit of time discussing was this proposed loading berth toward the north side of the structure. In addition to that being an area for waste and recycling removal, and general delivery. The fire marshal was actually pleased to be able to dedicate that space as a dedicated fire lane as well to kind of provide access or additional space for fire suppression efforts if, in the unhoped for event that would ever be necessary. Right now, the design of the structure is still preliminary. Mizzies have provided us some elevations and some floor plans. Construction documents, though, will be reviewed by all necessary parties within the city staff team, including the fire marshal, at the time that those are delivered in the final stage of the development. Another thing that we spent some time discussing too was landscaping, especially considering that new loading berth on the north side of the structure. As some of you may be familiar with, there is a mixed-use trail along the south side of Dahlgren Road that would run adjacent to that loading berth. So part of the buffering and screening for that will include at least a 6-foot tall fence and some conifer plantings that would provide at least 75% opacity year-round when they reach maturity. Everything else in the landscaping plan meets the code requirements for shrubs in sodded areas as well. And with that, I'll lay the recommendation before you. So the staff recommendation is to approve an amendment to the planned commercial district zoning overlay for Carver Square and Carver Dental Office to allow for a restaurant use on Lot 1, Block 1 of Carver Square, and to approve the site plan for the construction of the structure. With that, I'm happy to take any questions. I see that the applicant is also here with us tonight too, if you have any questions for them.
I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, did you bring any Jeff Sweetlander's pizza with you?
I do have one Jeff Sweetlander. Nice.
Oh.
Man knows his pizza.
As far as parking goes, with children tomorrow, being with the existing building there, and typically I think daycare hours probably ends about 6 o'clock-ish or so. Any concerns or impact with business hours being open up with how tight the parking lot potentially could be?
Great question. So the way that the city code organizes parking under a shared parking agreement is to take all of the required spaces for all of these parcels individually. The city also consolidates some of the uses. For example, restaurants require a differentiated percentage of parking at different times of the day. Similarly with bars, office buildings, schools, etc. So all of those are meant to be able to capture when parking is most necessary. And then the code further prescribes that you add up all of the parking required per those differentiated uses at the different times of day, and you select the one that requires the maximum amount of parking, and that was the 93 spaces.
And the additional parking on to the west of the building there, along the current drive lane, Carver Square drive lane. I know right now it's probably not to grade or anything, and after a big rain and everything, there's a pretty significant amounts of water that sit there. I imagine that's all going to get graded off properly.
Yeah, I would imagine Aaron would probably be able to.
Negative.
No.
There's a creek there on that side that you're referring to.
Yep.
That will be graded accordingly. So the asphalt has proper runoff. We do have storm and water down to that corner.
Mike, can I stop you and ask you to come up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Turn the microphone on, it's just
You
push
betcha.
the button, thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Michael. I'm with National Contractors. I'm one of the owners of the company that actually is doing the construction for this project. In regards to your question, in regards to stormwater runoff, our collection point is in that far southwest corner that was pre-designated on the previous 2017, I believe. We are adding a little plethora of parking spots there, but that will also, and in our civil plans, it shows how we're actually pertaining to making sure we're taking care of the creek that is a seasonal or a semi-dry creek, and make sure the runoff continues that way without causing any damage to any other properties or business on the property.
Okay, so just to get clear in my mind, so parking spaces on the far west side are going to be gravel?
Negative, they'll be asphalt.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I
Bit of
thought,
this.
thought they'd be
Yeah.
paved, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I was like, wow, that doesn't make sense, but, okay, that was my question.
And that'll actually show a curb all the way around that,
Mm-hmm.
raised concrete curb all the way around that, just to make sure there's not a problem with any cars going past that, but the rest of that will be sloped off accordingly.
Okay. Okay, Greg, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, I'm done.
You're done? Go ahead.
I have
Birthday
7
girl.
questions.
Go for it.
Go.
7, wow.
So we're very used to seeing developments come through, so restaurants are a little bit different for us. And we're excited. But is this preliminary and we'll see a final plat again?
So
Or
this
is it
isn't,
combined?
this isn't a plating process, it's a site plan review.
Okay.
So think about it differently than a plating process. This is a one-time approval recommendation by the planning commission to the city council.
And then in the streets access and sideways, it says the city engineer believes that it's okay? Like, is that because nobody can drive on it? Like, believes maybe isn't the right word.
That language, I apologize if it's ambiguous, came out of a discussion that we had between planning and engineering staff, where beyond the physicality of the space, the grading, et cetera, there were a number of scenarios that we ran through, including types of vehicles that could potentially have a difficult time maneuvering in and out of that loading berth space. To Commissioner Riggs's question, to about peak times potentially conflicting, the peak times for drop-off and pickup at Children of Tomorrow Daycare, and how all of those would relate to delivery times that would be, raw goods delivery into the restaurant. And so, without wanting to make any presumptions on my end, I would just say, we have a reasonable expectation that there shouldn't be issues. Might have been better language than saying believe, but
Okay.
as anything, we can't guarantee
Section,
everything.
or question number 7 on the recommendation says that a second restaurant can't be used in the leased space. Why is that? Is it because it's zoned that way, or what's the rationale?
Great question. So returning again to this idea of the planned commercial development, under the conditions of approval for the planned commercial development, this parcel was proposed to be retail and office space. And so all of the design of the space was conducted at that time accordingly, with significant leeway toward potential parking impacts. I think under those conditions of approval for that mix of uses, they would only be required to have 80 spaces as opposed to the 93 that they have now. With imposition of a restaurant in that retail space, it would go way over the maximum developable area in the lot to be able to accommodate any more parking. To reference back to the code, a retail and office use requires 1 parking space for every 300 square feet of gross floor area. A restaurant requires 1 space for every 75 square feet. So it's simply that there is just not enough room, but we wanted to include that condition on the approval at this time.
And so some of the other staff recommendations seem rather strict about, sweeping daily. So similarly to how we have a contract when developers are building a development, is there any kind of contract for this that's part of the contract that says, you'll keep the site clean and sweeping would be part of that?
Are you asking if there's going to be a developer's agreement?
Yes. Is there something like that for restaurants like there is for new developments that we put in?
So the site won't have a developer's agreement, but we do have language in our city code that will fall back. So a lot of the DA language is backed up by rules that are within our city code already. So there won't be a specific developer's agreement for this project, but our city code does cover a plethora of issues that we know come up.
Like number 19, sweeping.
Sweeping
Well,
is always tough.
Presumably,
It just seems kind of weird that it's in there.
To be clear, though, on our civil plans that we submit, there'll be guidelines on that, on how to deal with entrance and exits for all the workers and making sure that we maintain proper safety for everybody that's using the rest of the facilities around there with the Children of Tomorrow, the dentist, stuff like that.
Okay.
And I will say sweeping is one of the things we talk about the most in the summer, which is silly to say, but sites get really dirty, and then when you track mud anywhere, people usually get a little lit up about it.
So another random question, this one's for you, Mike. There's no stall in the men's bathroom, is that correct?
There is.
Is there?
Wow, you gotta zoom in more.
Because the sinks look like they're outside.
So our situation with our bathrooms, we have been going back and forth trying to figure out the best situation.
Okay.
And so I could, if you'd like.
I was just
Sure.
questioning it.
Yeah.
It seemed like a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I won't be using it, but, okay.
Okay.
I feel much better now.
I wasn't worried.
I don't plan on using that one, but, you know. And those are my only questions, all 7 of them.
All right, thank you, Krista.
I have,
Yes, we're getting to you.
okay,
Okay.
it's fine. I'm patient.
It looks like it's awful tight in that loading area. Is the truck actually gonna be bent? Does it have to back out?
Yes, there's no turning around in the
That's-
berth area there, but we did have our civil engineer do calculations for both 26, 30, and 34-foot trucks showing access into that in and out. We also, with Cody and the team, talked about making sure we designate a delivery window time of the day that is appealing to the traffic that goes in there, what you were asking about earlier. You figure Children of Tomorrow somewhere between 7 and 9. It's a little lull for them. The dentist picks up after that time, but the big concern is all the parents dropping off right there. So we would have our mandated delivery time frame to be somewhere between like 9 and 2. I believe that's what we talked about. So, yep. So that definitely makes it a lot easier, because the last thing we want to do is the trucks can easily get in there. I just don't want to cause a problem with the community going, it's a big truck coming. So that's why we were taking special consideration. That's why we modified that lane a little bit larger for easier access coming in. But it is capable and shown on our civil plans of the trucks actually making the U-turn into that.
It's nice to set the delivery times. I've never been in a business like that, so how well do they do meeting those?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm Jeff Misgan, for those of you who don't know, proposing Mizzy's Pizza. To answer your question, how did they will accommodate you any way that they can get their food to you. This is their livelihood is making sure that that product gets delivered, and if you have certain set hours, they're always going to abide. I do have a restaurant in Belle Plaine right now. We determine when that's a pretty easy drop there. There isn't a daycare facility or anything, but it's certain times of the day work good for us, and that we pick those, and that's how we do it. So
That's good.
I can also advise that we build lots of different locations. I have one down on First Avenue we just finished turning in Minneapolis, and their sad delivery window is between 11 and 12. That's all they get. And they make every one of their deliveries work.
Okay, so delivery won't be an issue. Reed, are you done,
Yeah,
Jen?
go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay,
All right.
Reed?
Yes, just, I think, but this has already been zoned, so we don't need any further, okay? And then, on the restaurant use, with the parking, did someone do the quick math before I could, or have a calculator of what kind of we're thinking for peak, just to help get the number in my head of like employees, and then it was 75 parking spaces per, so that's about 100 there. If we just do well, I guess we subtract off the 2,500, so about
What are we trying to
to figure out
determine?
how many parking spots, right? So the restaurant itself, we would assume at peak was gonna use 75, or one parking spot per 75 square feet? Okay, what's that number? Does someone have a calculator handy? Is that 93?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then, so yeah, I guess my concern is kind of the end of the day, right? Where you know, people are starting to come out for dinner and, you know, picking up their kids and stuff. So I just want to make sure that, right, in that kind of area that we still are confident on those numbers. I trust all your guys' math and stuff, but we just wanted, okay, so 93. So we still have some, and presumably the restaurant's not 100% full. Right? Oh, obviously you'd love it to be, but, okay.
That'll probably be after the daycare's closed.
Yeah, the daycare, go grab some.
And the
pizza on
dental
way home.
office.
Yes, no, exactly. Yeah, I'm just trying to get how close we were to and then that makes sense on the other requirement of why we wouldn't want another restaurant at that spot, because again, at that other number for total, it would be way, you know, blow through that. And then I guess another second question on the opening retail space. Is this a preliminary? Because it looked like the main entrance would be back into that loading ramp. So presumably the tenant would have some leeway on designing or what's our plan for the existing office?
Great question. The additional 2,500-ish square feet would be delivered as a warm dark shell.
Okay.
It'd be completely enclosed, weatherproof, all those fun things, and it'd be an interior fit out by the tenant that chooses it. Should it be a bank or a vet or a...
Sure.
Yeah.
Do we have an idea of like proposed entrances, right?
What you see, what you see on the, let's call it page right is our entrance, our main entrance to our restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the biggest thing on that.
Oh, so that would be facing south?
So it is facing. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then the future tenant has a double entry door facing south, as well as a service door in the back. To be able to access the loading berth.
I could show that.
Okay. Good.
It would be this entry point.
Gotcha. And that's facing south. So that would be the main parking lot. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Or children of tomorrow, or however you want to quantify that design look.
Yep. And then for Aaron, is this the last open plot on this land, or is there one more in that far corner there that could be another?
So this is the last available platted space.
Okay.
The last building we anticipate on this site.
Okay. Excellent. So again, we wouldn't expect any huge change in parking needs or, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, and then I guess they covered with how big of trucks can we fit in the commercial loading zone. That was a good idea. And then, yeah, I think I'm all set.
Y'all good?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or concerns, comments?
I do.
Go for it.
So my relation to my question comes from Heartbreakers in Chaska and how I can hear them when I'm in the Target parking lot. When you are designing, obviously you have an outdoor patio. I live in Oak Tree, which is about the same distance away. Just make sure there's a consideration of designing the outdoor sound so it doesn't blast the neighborhood.
I think that's a good concern to actually be worried about. I mean, you've got an elevation hill going to the neighborhood, but that doesn't mean the sound's not going to travel briskly to it. So I think it's a very good concern to point out.
I have another concern. I love pizza, but I don't want to be. I live in Oak Tree, overlooking where the restaurant's going to be located, and I don't want to be smelling it all day long. What are you doing with respect to ventilation to mediate that problem?
Well, interesting question, actually. Everything that we'll be putting in there will be all of our new equipment. Everything will be ventilated through its proper systems. The fact that I can't tell you that you're not going to smell the garlic smell or the aroma of baking food. I mean, that's, I don't know of a way to stop that, actually, off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I can tell you that what you won't smell is you won't smell a dirty grease trap from an old kitchen that isn't kept up. To say that you're not going to smell something that's baking, that's subject to the wind and how it travels through the property, I guess.
Well, it's, I think the concern should be minimal because it's a pretty wide open space out there.
Yes.
And there will be wind.
Yes.
And probably you'll see more dust from the gravel pit than what you'll smell from Missy's.
No question.
I think.
Sure.
But, so duly noted, do you dislike the smell of garlic?
And mirrors? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Duets, eh?
Yeah.
They stink, huh?
I thought of two other questions.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Thought of
then,
it.
because it's your birthday, go ahead.
There was nothing on here about signs. Are we okay? No questions on?
So signage will be required to go to the sign permit approval process.
Separate.
There's a lot of processes.
Yeah.
It's under separate permit.
The sign?
So that will need its own sign permit once the building is approved.
And then Jeff, how many delivery spaces are needed for drivers?
You know, right now in Belle Plaine, I run, like tonight, 3 drivers, 4 drivers, so they're not always there, you know, because you've got them.
Because they're driving.
Correct.
I mean,
Hopefully a lot.
very seldom would you have all of them. You know, maximum 6, 7, but.
Okay.
But they rotate through.
I did ask my husband if we could walk, and he said definitely not.
It's a distance of a bike ride, though, right?
Yeah.
And we have a bike ride.
Too many
very
hills.
Yeah.
Electric bike.
That really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you already.
All right.
There's a lot of rules at our
I
house.
have a question.
All right, Jim?
You are planning to apply for a liquor license?
Yes.
Outside music or anything?
Like something that you would see
Concert.
at Floyd's or something like that? No, sir.
Okay.
Inside. There's a jukebox, I assume, right? I did have a follow-up question, just, so on the maintenance for like snow plowing and, you know, seasonal maintenance, is that handled by the entire property in that joint agreement? It kind of, I mean, I most think of like, my brain is.
Homeowners
Homeowners, there you go, there, thank you.
There would be a stipulation to that, though.
Okay.
The delivery aisle, the fire lane, whatever we want to call that, that would be still probably maintained
Okay.
by Missy's, unfortunately.
Missy's, okay, and but then the main entrance and then the path to the existing business, is that road existing already?
It is.
It is.
Okay. Excellent, okay, that was it.
All
I
right.
think I'm really done now.
All right, anybody else? Do you want to share anything else with us?
Yeah, after, no?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you guys a little history of Mizzy.
Sure.
And what it's
That'd be
about.
great.
Yeah.
That's,
You
You have
important.
2 minutes.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you're talking to the wrong guy.
Don't worry, I'll cut you off.
So my history is I'm actually a school teacher, 22 years. I'm not teaching anymore. My wife and I have 8 kids together, 3 each from a first marriage, 2 little ones. They each have a name for a pizza if they put in 500 hours at the pizza restaurant. So I've actually been doing pizza since 1997. So teaching income needs to usually be supplemented if you want to make a career of it. I had the blessing to work with Briggs's wife. She was a parent in my classroom years ago in Eden Prairie. So the pizza thing has been a passion. I got out of teaching 8 years ago. We currently do deliver to Carver. It's a distance. I always tell the story like I always say, go to Eden Prairie and order from one side, the west end, and go to the east end, and I'll get it faster than you're going to get your pizza there. But anyway, we want to bring a family business to Carver. That's our goal. This is family operated. It's not a big chain. We want it to work, and we want to be part of the community as long as our kids grow up here. So we're excited.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Very
you're welcome.
good.
How are cheese prices?
They're going down right now.
Okay.
That's the good thing. Believe it or not, when you have a surplus of cheese, as they did when the whole COVID era hit, prices, they go, when you're dumping milk and throwing things out, prices go up. You'd think they'd go down because you've got an excess, but it doesn't always work that way.
No.
Processing,
All right, anybody else? If not,
I'm just saying, I'm glad to have a new restaurant, so.
yeah.
I
I'm
haven't
very
ever
excited.
had one in my whole thing, so I think that's great. Well, on the planning commission, right? It's
Okay.
our first restaurant. I'm very excited.
Got you. Thank you, Reed. Why don't we try to move along?
Sure,
here
yeah.
And,
No problem.
we'll move down to motions and such. How about if...
I move to recommend approval.
Wait, Reed, just wait. Okay, I'll ask for the motion.
Okay.
He used to be the chair. It hasn't gotten out of his blood yet. Reed, would you like to make a motion to recommend approval of the amendment to the
guess.
planned commercial district zoning overlay for Carver Square to allow for the restaurant use on lot 1, block 1 of Carver Square?
I would. Do you want me to repeat the whole motion again?
No,
or
you just
say-
need to say, I move.
I move.
Okay.
I'll
There's a
second.
motion, and there's a second. Is there further discussion?
I'm good.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Then there's a second motion to recommend approval of the site plan for construction of a 7,532 square foot family-style restaurant and retail office outlet with an attached 1,140 square foot patio, subject to the conditions set forth by city staff in a letter dated August 11th.
I'll file a motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do we have to measure that exactly, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody hears.
Yeah.
Maybe read.
Okay, I get it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
None.
The motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. We're
Yeah,
very excited
great.
to have you come to
Yes.
the community. Thank you. Now I won't have to wait an hour to get my pizza.
I did bring pizza tonight, too.
Oh, excellent.
so-
You're the
and
best.
Master, yeah.
We have-
To Greg's request, Jeff Sweetlander is.
Oh, nice.
Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So this is tentatively set for council on September 6th?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited about
Yeah.
having Missy's here. Okay, should we move to 5.3, Timber Creek Phase 2 Final Plat?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank
Erin,
you.
welcome back.
Thank you. Chair, members of the commission, tonight we're reviewing a final plat for Timber Creek Phase 2, which is the Lennar development that is currently west of Copper Hills, Carver Elementary, all of the construction happening in that area. So we'll cruise through because I know I'm standing between you and.
That's right.
pizza.
Hurry up.
Yeah.
You only get a minute.
2 minutes.
Efficient.
1 minute.
So the final plat, like Krista mentioned, asking about the platting process for a site plan review, this is one that has been through the process. You've seen it several times. You've seen it recently for a lot split that happened. Preliminary plat was approved April 2021. Phase 1 final plat was approved July 2021. So if you've driven in that area recently, you've seen an intense amount of construction, largely for Timber Creek. So there's now a townhome building that you'll start to see. Those permits are starting to go out pretty fast. So we're anticipating both townhome and single-family construction over the fall, winter, and spring of the next year. So the final plat is the final step of this planning process. So final plat Phase 2, we're anticipating 2 additional phases to come through, but for Phase 2, this is your last look. Generally, we like to get it to a point where there's little deviation from the preliminary plat, so that document you approved in April 2021, we like to make sure that it stays pretty close to that, just so we don't have to come back to you with major changes. We like to work out the big bugs before that point. Once this process is completed, staff and the development team begins work on the developer's agreement. So the question came up earlier tonight, would Mizzy's Pizza require a developer's agreement? I should have mentioned a developer's agreement covers public infrastructure. So we require them when there are things like streets, utilities, to essentially cover our ability to step in if we need to for public utilities. So everything on Mizzy's site, private. Here they're going to be extending streets, sanitary sewer, water. So we have a developer's agreement to cover those things. So at that point, we enter into the contract with the city and the developer. We hold 125% of their total project cost. In case something should go awry, we can step in with development dollars to finish the project. A grading agreement can be executed after preliminary plat approval. As the site has already developed, there has been significant grading work on the site. And once that DA is signed, work can begin in earnest. So this project is anticipated to be before the City Council on September 6th. So in theory, they could start that process once the DA is signed and the work is completed. So let's get some highlights of Phase 2 of the final plat. It's 68 single-family homes. If you'll recall, Phase 1 included the entire breadth of the townhome unit. So that was 74 townhomes and 49 single-family. So that's what Lennar is able to permit today, should they have utilities there. So in addition to the 68 units we're looking at tonight, it would be 117 total units that would be available for just single family. In total, Timber Creek is, I think, 349 units, so we still have several that will be coming through the pipeline in Phase 3 and Phase 4. largely this project does conform with the preliminary plat. So we've learned some things about the site in the year that we've been out there, but the number of lots, the design of the lots, the shape of the lots are similar to that preliminary plat. Park dedication is something that I always like to highlight. I have some slides about Ironwood Park just because the council has done final approval and we've started work out there. For the site, it will be fee in lieu of land total, so it's $4,070 per unit. If you think about that Ironwood Park project that we did, that was completely done in phase 1. So we gave them a land and a cash alternative instead of just cash that we'll be doing for phase 2. So all Ironwood Park dedication is completed. We're now moving forward with just cash to replenish that park dedication fund. Several access points into phase 2 are from existing streets. This phase 2 connects into Copper Hills, which I think will be of note for both members of the commission and the community. So let's do a really quick rundown of what Timber Creek looks like. So the zoning of Timber Creek is R2 or residential 2 with a planned residential development overlay district. So what that PRD was used for is the mix of the different housing types. So the single family and townhome required that PRD. Something else that is exciting and interesting about this site is the size of open space that we'll be gaining. So there's a large ravine area that comes into play in phase 3 that we're preserving for a trail connection. 348, I was 1 unit off. So again, 74 units of townhome have been through the process. We'll continue to chip away at the additional lots in phase 2 and phase 3 and 4. And as you know, the net density is important, that we need to hit 3 units per acre for the Met Council. This project hits at 3.1, so it does meet the density that we need. Something to note, Meridian Fields, Oak Tree, Copper Hills are all R2 with a PRD overlay, so something that we see a lot through zoning. Visual representation of what the site looks like here. This was a sidewalk and trail exhibit that they put together, so shows off the sidewalk and trail that will be extending to this area here of Timber Creek with a gravel trail around it. Again, that comes in phase 3, but something to look forward to, and extensive trail work in Ironwood Park as well as through the development. These are really exciting photos that we got this week from drone footage. So for some explanation of where we are, Ironwood is here. This is Arbor Lane. This is a new street in Timber Creek. And then Monroe is this north side. This is Meridian Fields. Quick Trip is here. Next Steps Learning Center is here. So you're starting to see these Timber Creek townhomes come up and just the extensive grading work that has been completed on the site. So a good view of where the site is at. I think my toddler would go bonkers if I showed him this photo or brought him here. So an exciting look of construction for Timber Creek. This is the lot split that you reviewed, I believe, at your July meeting, so you're pretty familiar with that. Shows the phase 2 takedown or phase 2 final plat approval. And this is the formal platting document that we will use to record. It shows the lot layout, easements, streets, etc. So not the most exciting document to look at, but something that's really important to us at a staff level and the planning commission level. So additional views. If you can get your bearings here, this is the extension of River Rock, which hooks into Copper Hills. So Copper Hills ends here. This is the new stretch. And the final page, which is the northwest corner of the development. So phase 1 is outlined in orange. Phase 2 is yellow. Phase 3 is anticipated for green. And phase 4 is the blue. So moving south, phase 4 will be the final that we'll look at. Again, just that illustrative look to get your bearings of where we are. So phase 2 is largely this area here, as well as the area here. I'm going to jump to Ironwood Park. I'll run through it really fast just because council has completed final approval of the project. And as the planning commission steps more into that parks role, just want you to have a feel of what was approved for Ironwood. So top corner is the outdoor classroom that we're installing in the existing circle of the park, so likely will be heavily used by Carver Elementary, the neighbor. The bottom photo is both an overview as well as a basketball court, so you'll see that we got Carver's logo on there, which will be really exciting and nice. And we focused a lot on wayfinding and signage. That's been a push that we've been working on at the city. You're seeing some of our new signs pop up, like at the fire station, community park, Lions Park. Thank you, Lions, that are on the commission. I saw that dedication yesterday. But we're working on wayfinding signage, so the photo here is a drop-off zone, but also a spot where people could figure out a trail connection here. kids could wait for their parents on some limestone blocks that we're starting to see through the community. So pulling some of those wayfinding projects that we're using on like the JCP project, the 6th Street project into Ironwood Park to make it bring you back to that Carver feel. Something that even as a non-skater I think is really exciting is the skate park. So a new view of the skate park that will be in the community. If you ever are on JCP, that skate park is wildly busy. So the skate park here is concrete, which is exciting, kind of state of the art right now. There are areas that are sunk into the ground with some other ramps. So again, not being a skater, I'm told these are really cool. So something we're excited about. We're hoping it will be a draw to the community. So people will visit Carver to check out the skate park. We also have a proposed shelter, which is really exciting. We focused a lot on the shelter for people that might live in the townhomes in Timber Creek, so they could have some gathering space since there aren't communal spaces in those townhomes. So if someone wanted to have a large gathering, it's available there. We also included some exciting things like permanent ping pong tables, permanent cornhole, and some Adirondack chairs in the park. So just giving it more of a family feel that you can rent beanbags from us if you're renting the pavilion and have some of that just play space built into the park. Also some examples of the signage. So again, you're starting to see them throughout the community. The council on Monday reviewed a grant that we were awarded for trail signage throughout the community. So we're really working on bringing our signage up to Carver in 2022. So a good look at it there. And then again, Ironwood Park. This looks like a crazy little like diorama that we're looking into, but that is the future expansion of Ironwood Park with the grading work that they're starting on. So in the future, skate park will be about here, pavilion is here, basketball court is here. So really looking forward to this park. We're anticipating open spring 2023. Okay, I say that with my shoulders up for confirmation. But.
Yeah, nice.
And some examples of the product that Lennar is building in Timber Creek. So again, tonight is a review of the final plat. Last step for the Planning Commission, City Council. It's 68 additional homes. Looks very similar to the preliminary plat, and it allows us to begin work on that developer's agreement with the City Council and developer. I will open it up for questions.
Questions? Reed?
Yes. No problem. So with the second phase, that would be all of the townhomes would be then approved?
Phase 1 had all of the townhomes.
All the town, okay,
So
so
they're
it's
done.
phase 2 is purely
Single family.
I mean, they're not all
Correct.
built, but they're-
And then if we go back to the picture where we did the plating with the blue area was the new lot. So all those previous pictures are that blue section, and then the non-blue is presumably phase 3, right? Because originally we were thinking that phase 2 would be maybe larger.
Correct,
In
yes.
the past, okay. That's why we needed to split it into smaller so they could do it in multiple phases.
Yes, that
Okay.
and Lennar is purchasing the property as they go.
Okay, sure, okay. And then, so as part of the traffic study, right, we did that when we did the initial primary, right, because the large number of the 300.
Correct.
And then that was good with Aaron's presentation on the.
It's all coming together, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, actually, that was all I had, not too many for this one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jim?
I'm good.
Greg?
With approval after this, and it goes through city council, early September-ish, whatever, the additional, with this second phase here, is the Lennar looking to basically start doing city sewer water before the frost this year? Do you know?
That's my understanding, that they're hoping to try to get some sewer and water in this fall yet.
Got it.
Kristen? Anybody else? Bill?
Yes. I think it looks great. The park system, I think, is much needed. I'd like to throw out for your consideration, and maybe the basketball court could be multi-use. Pickleball, as I understand, is the fastest growing sport in the country. Could that be incorporated into the park system. You'll probably get as much wear out of that, or
Right.
usage out of that, as you would the basketball court.
I will say we talk about pickleball often. So we do have a couple courts in the ice rink usually at Community Park, but it is something that's on our radar, understanding that there is a growing need for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Daniel?
Not as exciting as a restaurant.
Oof, brutal.
Nowhere near as exciting.
No,
as Pizza
nowhere
Man.
near as exciting.
All right, in that case, could I get a motion to recommend approval of Phase 2 of Timber Creek?
I move to recommend approval of Phase 2 of Timber Creek.
Thank you, Reed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, none. Motion carries. Send it on to the council.
Yeah.
We're now down to number 6, which is communications. Reed, you got anything to communicate?
No, I just do like the new signs for all the parks, and I just did drive by Lions Park one, and they're much easier to see, and so that's a great job by the city there. So
Cool. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Jim?
If you had driven by last night, you could have seen us lions
I
getting our
did.
picture
I
taken.
totally forgot. You told me I forgot.
I don't have anything at this time.
All right. Krista?
Well, we got Steamboat
Welcome back,
Days
Erin.
coming up, right?
Thank you.
And then also anything we need to be concerned about for Brookview. There's been a number of emails going around.
Yeah.
Not sure how else do you want me to put it.
Not at this level, no. Staff is taking care of it. Thank you, though.
Greg?
That was my only point to bring up.
I think if there's
with you,
something to be concerned
so.
about, it's gonna show up on a agenda.
Billboard?
Yeah.
Possibly, I don't know. Maybe in the Steamboat Days Parade.
Oh, do not.
Bill?
Good to go. All right.
Okay, and I have nothing to add except to add this, that Steamboat Days is coming and
Yeah.
hope to see everybody there.
Yeah.
All right?
I should
Well-
say one thing.
Hold on, Jim. You
You had your
had
chance.
your chance. Go ahead.
If anybody's interested in the history of Carver,
Oh, Carver on the Mississippi.
Carver on the Minnesota is going to be in the Church by the River on Saturday from 1 to 5. With a presentation on the history.
It's really pretty interesting. All right, anything else? If not, would somebody like to make a
Move to
motion to?
adjourn.
Boy, Reed. Reed, did you want to make a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.